Let's move on to the next fight. We got another banger of a fight. We got Islam Makhachev going up against Drew Dober here. Obviously, Makhachev heavy favorite. Coming in at -370 plus 310 for Drew Dober. Drew obviously been looking really good as of late. Knocks out Nasrat Haqparast, and then most recently knocks out Alexander Hernandez. And I feel like people are trying to convince themselves that the line is too wide here, and I gotta disagree, man. I think the line is exactly where it should be, given Makhachev's strengths here, which is obviously his grappling and his wrestling. Now, we haven't seen Makhachev truly go up against a striker of Drew Dober's level in a couple of fights now, right? He's going up against Davi Ramos, who's mainly a jiu-jitsu guy, Arman Sarukian, who's mainly a jiu-jitsu guy. So it's tough to truly extract from those fights to be like, okay, he can truly deal with these strikers now. Like, he fought that southpaw and Adriano Martins, who was able to put him out, and that was his only loss in his career. And now he's going up against another southpaw and Drew Dober here, who unfortunately only has a 58% takedown defense rate, and that's not going to cut it against our guy Islam Makhachev, who is, it may be a stretch to call him Khabib 2.0, but like, given everything that we've been seeing in terms of how much they're talking this kid up, from, Khabib saying he probably even is a better wrestler than me, to Daniel Cormier saying, he's one of the best wrestlers that he's been seeing in the practice room. But you always have to take that with a grain of salt, because these guys are training partners. They're obviously going to, jack each other off a little bit more than they should be. But I think that Makhachev actually is the truth, man. His hands and his striking have been looking much better. Like, to go out there and outstrike Davy Ramos, on the surface, it may not look like much, but Davy Ramos packs the punch. And when he's not able to get the fight to the ground, he resorts to his striking. And Makhachev held his own in that regard, and even did a really good job in terms of, taking advantage of those situations. Drew Dober, though, I just don't like his takedown defense. Like, seeing Beneil Dariush trying to take him down with body locks. Yeah, he's able to stuff some of those takedowns, but when you have such a crafty takedown artist in Makhachev, you're going to get the body locks, but you're also going to get a trip behind it. You're going to get a double leg. You're going to get a single leg. He has so many different entries on his takedowns that I don't think that Dober is going to be ready for it. I don't think it's going to be like a Jorge Masvidal, Ben Askren thing where you see Makhachev just go out there and try to shoot a takedown right away and run into a flying knee. I think Makhachev is rounding out his game well enough. The only knock you can truly give him here is we haven't seen him since UFC 242, I believe it was, the night we saw Dustin Poirier fight Khabib Nurmagomedov. So it's been a while since he's been around. But he's been scheduled for fights. He was supposed to fight Hernandez in April of last year. He was supposed to fight RDA in October of last year. He's supposed to fight RDA again in November. So he's been training. He's been staying active. I think he's going to go out there and beat Drew Dober, and I think he's going to be very live to potentially get a finish via submission here as well. If you look at the last couple losses for Drew Dober, they've all come via submission. Obviously, Beneil Dariush, super high-level jiu-jitsu player, armbars him in the second round. Olivier Aubameyang, not particularly known to be a submission artist, rear naked chokes him in the second round. And then the one before that, Efrain Escudero, June 2015, rear naked chokes him. Now, obviously, Drew Dober is a much better fighter since then, but to get a guy like Makhachev, this is going to be a tough and stiff test for Dober. I think it's knockout or bust for Dober here. There's no way he wins a decision, no way he wins it via submission, but I think that Makhachev is going to have him covered everywhere, get this fight to the ground, and get a submission, probably second round. What about you? Oh, you might be on mute or something. Weird. Well, as Cody figures out his situation, I'll let him do that. Makhachev, obviously, very, very highly touted prospect, comes out of that same training camp as Khabib. As you guys see, you see Khabib in his corner pretty much every single fight. If not in his corner, you see him going out there and being front row at his fights, very much involved with Makhachev's progression as a fighter.
Can you hear me now?
There we go. All right, hit me, Cody.
I don't know why it does that. I got to look into that. Yeah, no, listen, I agree with the point. I think that it's interesting you're going to maybe chase him by submission because, yeah, it's live. I mean, he's submitted decent guys before, but he's not big for submissions. Makhachev's a guy that likes to get the takedown, and like Khabib, if the submission was to present itself, he'll go for it. More often than not, he just kind of grinds it down and doesn't let you get any position. And if you get back up, he'll peel you back down. And I think that's the path here too. This is a classic MMA fight. You've got a striker versus a grappler. Islam Makhachev doesn't want to strike for a prolonged period of time. You mentioned his one loss, Adriano Martins. He got knocked out. And with Drew Dober, this is what he does. He's giving up the takedowns against Hernandez, but he works his way back up. When he gets back up, he's a problem. He's got big power. Training with guys like Justin Gaethje, it's like he's really put a good game together that revolves around, sprawl and brawl. Keep the fight standing. use this big power, knock these guys out. I agree that he's on a good run. I just don't think he's fought in anybody like Islam Makhachev. I mean, Drew Dober's given up takedowns to a lot lesser guys. And with Makhachev, it's not just the takedown, it's the consistency of the takedowns, right? When you look at his record, it's just riddled with, like, he's fought in wrestlers and he's taking them down. When you look at Arman Sakurian, right, he goes 4 for 9. Who the hell's taken down Arman 4 times? But 4 for 9 is pretty decent. When you look at him versus Nick Lentz, Nick Lentz is the guy that wrestled D1 at the University of Minnesota. He went 5 for 5 on takedowns. Chris Wade wrestled division, D1 as well. He goes 4 for 4 on takedowns, 100% takedowns against these guys. These guys are wrestlers. These guys know how to wrestle. Islam gets you down. When you got Khabib saying, you know what, part of the reason I'm stepping down is I've had my time and my mother doesn't want me to fight. And one of the reasons he keeps saying it too is like, it's Islam's time. It's Makhachev's time. This is his time. He'll be the next champ at 155. He's the young man. And he's a young man. He fights a similar, albeit not the same style. Everybody's high up on him, that all of his training partners, everyone that's been in the room with him. And it looks like he can keep going to this. So with Dober, I mean, if you're giving up 3 takedowns to Alexander Hernandez, he gave up 3 takedowns to Frank Camacho, like the takedowns to Beneil Dariush. Beneil Dariush, there's no way he would have even known what state he was in, right? He's a rock, he's hurt, and it's just like, time to take you down, takes him down and submits him. It's like, oh man, the takedown are going to be there for him. And similar to Justin Gaethje, mind you, I was on this narrative. It's like, spend the whole camp working your wrestling and stop Khabib's takedown long enough to do a little something standing. It's like, man, you could prepare for 5 years. It doesn't matter. If he wants you down, he's going to get you down. That's what these guys do. Makhachev's the same thing, right? I mean, if he wants it, he'll get it. If he doesn't get it on the first, it says he only has 68% takedown accuracy, but that's because they'll chain wrestle. Yeah. They'll throw 2 non-attempts to get you to move a certain way to nail you with the third, right? And it's kind of how these guys go. And so I think that, listen, this is MMA. Puncher's chance is always a real thing. I think Drew Dober would be live for a puncher's chance, but that's about it. He's not submitting Makhachev. He's not going out there and putting the paces on him for 15 minutes. He's just got to, keep this fight standing as long as he can. And I think that's where he'll struggle. So I like Dober. I think that he could land that shot, the way Adriano Martins did, but that's a long time ago, man. That was his second fight in the UFC. He's like 10 fights into his career, taking on a Pride FC veteran who had like 25 fights. Like, it's a very difficult spot against Adrian Martins. He's learned a lot since then. I hope he comes back. Going to the submission, the only notable guy he's ever submitted really was Cajun Johnson, who I only say is notable because he is a black belt. But again, like, outside of that, yeah, his other submissions, Leo Kuntz, like, okay, so he's submitting good guys. Like, does he submit over? Like, I don't know, maybe not. Like, I could see this one going to decision. And so that's the red I went. And when Makhachev by decision was -105, and fight goes the distance as well is not a bad price tag. So those are the 3 spots I went with.